Let's jump right in. Today, we're decoding something I find absolutely fascinating, a unified biological framework. We're going to trace a direct line from the exact millisecond freezing water hits your skin, all the way to the precise moment your brain clears cellular waste during deep sleep. We are looking at how strategically regulating your nervous system during the day is literally the ultimate master switch for sleep optimization, emotional resilience, and your overall health span.
I want you to hold this totally counterintuitive question in your mind. Can inducing extreme physical panic actually rewire your brain for peace? Think about it. We spend our entire modern lives engineered for total comfort, right? We're completely insulated from the thermal stressors our biology actually evolved to expect. Yet emerging neurobiology reveals this wild evolutionary mismatch. It turns out voluntarily stepping into a deeply uncomfortable, panic-inducing environment might just be one of the absolute best ways to build an unbreakable baseline of calm.
All right, Section 1, the anatomy of acute stress. Let's see what happens. So, you know that initial gasp and racing heart when you hit cold water? Those aren't just random side effects. They are perfectly orchestrated bottom-up signals firing straight from your skin to your brainstem. When the thermoreceptors in your skin detect a rapid temperature drop, they shoot sensory signals straight to the hypothalamus. Your brain instantly, and I mean instantly, evaluates this as a survival threat. It activates the sympathetic adrenal-medullary axis, causing rapid vasoconstriction to preserve your core temperature. It's this highly coordinated evolutionary survival loop where your brain is basically saying, forget long-term metabolism, we need to survive right now.
Just look at the sheer scale of this neurochemical surge. Hitting 57-degree Fahrenheit water triggers a massive, like 530% spike in norepinephrine. Released from the locus coeruleus in your brainstem, this neurotransmitter absolutely floods your system, giving you profound laser-like alertness. And at these sustained levels, it actually functions as a powerful mood regulator and an incredible anti-inflammatory agent. Keep in mind, this is not that erratic, destructive spike you get from chronic psychological stress, like from frantically checking your emails. No, this is a clean, survival-grade neurochemical flood.
And here's the real kicker. Accompanying that surge is a 250% rise in dopamine. This fundamentally alters your baseline emotional stability, but completely without the depletion or crash you'd see with pharmacological stimulants. So unlike a fleeting caffeine spike, this catecholamine release has this beautiful, sustained plateau. It enhances your cognitive performance and neuroplasticity for hours. It literally raises your baseline mood and clarity for the entire day by tapping directly into the brain's reward and emotional regulation centers.
Moving on to Section 2, the mammalian dive reflex.
This is where it gets crazy. Your body is simultaneously activating a fight-or-flight panic response while initiating a deeply calming parasympathetic reflex to conserve oxygen. It's like an incredible biological tug-of-war. On one side, the cold shock response is screaming at your biology to panic, to hyperventilate. But on the other side, the mammalian dive reflex is pulling in the exact opposite direction, desperately trying to slow everything down to preserve life underwater. And by submerging your face, you can actually manually hack your own neurology through this four-step trigeminal vagal pathway. You force your heart rate to slow down, despite the freezing temperatures. Here's how it works. The cold water hits the ophthalmic branch of the trigeminal nerve right on your face. That sends a signal to your brainstem, which then fires back a calming command straight through the vagus nerve to your heart. You are literally manually overriding your own panic. It totally proves that the autonomic nervous system isn't, well, entirely automatic.
Up next, Section 3, hormonal recalibration and resilience.
You can kind of think of this like progressive resistance training, but for your nervous system. As the saying goes, the dose makes the poison, and a brief, extreme dose of cold makes you biologically tougher. What you're doing is practicing mounting a massive stress response and then recovering from it. Over time, your system becomes incredibly efficient. It learns how to stand down the exact moment the threat passes. And spoiler alert, that is the exact physiological state you need to transition into restorative sleep later that night. So how does this translate to real life? Well, surviving the ice bath literally trains your anterior midcingulate cortex to stay calm during, say, a heated argument or a really stressful work meeting. This is called cross-adaptation. Your brain actually uses the exact same biological hardware for a psychological threat as it does for a physical one. So teaching your body to maintain a calm, controlled heart rate in freezing water directly translates to keeping your cool when life inevitably throws you a curveball. Let's look at this data.
The habituated winter swimmer doesn't just tolerate the cold better. Their entire hormonal feedback loop is optimized, and this ties directly into healthy circadian biology. Their HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, basically stops overreacting. In a total novice, cortisol spikes erratically and then just flattens out, which is a one-way ticket to chronic anxiety and insomnia. But the habituated person, they develop this beautifully regulated curve. They get a sharp, healthy awakening in the morning and a peaceful low baseline for the rest of the day.
Okay, Section 4, the vagus nerve off switch.
Now, while surgical implants actually do exist for clinical vagus nerve therapy, there are incredibly accessible, everyday actions that stimulate the exact same cranial nerve. Think of it as the primary information superhighway of your parasympathetic nervous system. Your vagus nerve connects your brainstem all the way down to your gut. By deliberately engaging it, whether through cold, breathwork, or even just experiencing awe, you increase your vagal tone. You're sending a physical safety signal to your brain that directly drives down systemic inflammation and improves your overall metabolic health.
When the cold first hits, your immediate instinct is to hyperventilate, right? But that drops your blood carbon dioxide levels and actually makes you feel more breathless. Instead, by forcing a long, slow exhale, you maintain healthy CO2 levels and actively command your brain to stand down. This breathwork literally secretes acetylcholine directly onto your heart's pacemaker cells. Acetylcholine is essentially the molecule of calm. You are quite literally injecting your own biological tranquilizer right into your bloodstream. How cool is that?
Finally, let's bring it all together in Section 5, sleep architecture and recovery.
All of this daytime stress management we've been talking about, it absolutely dictates the quality of your cellular repair at night. The glymphatic system is just phenomenal. During deep sleep, your brain cells physically shrink. This allows cerebral spinal fluid to just wash right through the tissue, clearing out amyloid beta and toxic metabolic waste. But, and this is a huge but, this nocturnal cleaning crew is entirely dependent on you dropping out of sympathetic overdrive. Without that daytime regulation, elevated cortisol keeps your brain highly vigilant, completely preventing you from reaching those deep sleep phases required for this critical brain washing.
But timing is absolutely everything here. Using cold therapy correctly means riding out the initial adrenaline wave so that the massive heat loss from your extremities triggers a compensatory drop in your core body temperature. A lot of people make the mistake of plunging right before their head hits the pillow. Don't do that. The initial shock spikes your alerting hormones and will keep you wide awake. You really need to plunge 60 to 90 minutes before bed. That secondary deep cooling effect is the exact biological trigger your brain requires to kickstart melatonin production and pull you into heavy restorative sleep.
And get this, researchers have found that just 11 minutes total per week of cold exposure, broken up into shorter sessions obviously, is the minimum effective dose required to achieve the systemic recalibration. Just 11 minutes. You definitely don't need to live in an ice bath to get these massive longevity and health span benefits. Just 2 to 3 minutes, a few days a week, at a temperature that feels safe but, highly uncomfortable. It proves that major biological upgrades don't require massive time commitments, just extreme, highly targeted stressors.
Ultimately, we are leveraging this ancient evolutionary mechanism to cure a very modern crisis of chronic stress and poor sleep. By deliberately facing the cold and actively overriding our own panic response, we are teaching our physiology that we are in control. We're literally paving the way for profound emotional stability, optimized sleep architecture, and deeply integrated biological resilience.
So the next time you face a deeply stressful situation, or you're just tossing and turning struggling to sleep, remember this. Your autonomic nervous system isn't just something that happens to you. It's a highly adaptable system, and it is waiting for your input. Knowing the profound neurochemical rewards we just covered, are you ready to use controlled panic to master your peace?